Welcome back, guys. It's been a long time, but here's another Warhammer Fantasy Battle Report. We're looking at a 2,400 point game, Blood and Glory. I will apologize, some of the pictures are a little blurry. It's my friends, Orcs and Goblins, versus my Ogre Kingdoms. So, looking at his list, this is him from my right, his left. You cannot see one rock lobber. Here's a second. He's got a chariot, a mounted savage shaman, bunch of night goblins, a huge big unit of 50 savage Orc Big Uns, a little small unit of goblins in the back there with his BSB, a lone troll. I think it's 32 or 40. I can't remember. We went back and forth with this. Some black orcs, a couple of wolf riders, and then I've got some scouting man-eaters in the back. That took him by surprise. Pretty great. Over to my side, things are a lot more compact. I have 10 Noblar trappers protecting this wizard hut. I want to make sure that I got this, so this wizard tower. And so his casters, he had several casters in his list. I didn't want them to have their use of all the spells, etc., etc. I have a couple of saber tusks. One's hidden in the back there. I have a big unit of bulls, a unit of 4 Mournfang cavalry with a dragonhide banner behind them, 7 iron guts with my BSB, and some yetis. In the unit of bulls is my slaughtermaster general with lore of the gut maw. As you can see, I'm pretty compact in the middle. I'm thinking of focus. Here's an overview, show how compact my units are. My goal is to use the yetis to try to get in against the smaller units, hopefully with fear, not let them get any attacks back and auto hit. I win the roll off to go first. He vanguards up his wolf riders, and then I just move up this flank. I put my man-eaters right in the flank here. I put my yetis in the trees, so I can theoretically get a double charge off on his black orcs. That is my goal. Everybody else, I move up a little bit, but I'm keeping them back and trying to make him come to me. Other than my 2 saber tusks. One is hidden behind this tree, but you can see that one's out there redirecting. So I'm thinking I've got him pretty well covered with the saber tusks. You can see here I've crept everything up a little bit. I've kept the iron guts still on the hill, move them just as far forward as possible. Just basically move everything else up so I can do that. Stay right near the wizarding hut, so I get all the spells. Honestly, my spells don't play a huge role in anything. Well, he takes me a bit by surprise and does a really great job of crisscross charging. He gets his wolf riders out of the way into my saber tusk, which is down right from this picture, and then his black orcs into this saber tusk, clearing out the way from me, bollocksing up his movement. Pretty good stuff. I forget how, but he loses a couple of night goblins here. Maybe it was to a spell cast that he miscast on or something, but no big deal. He creeps these guys up a little bit. Maybe they just fell over backwards. I'm not sure. You can see here in the middle, the wolf riders took a couple of casualties charging across the fence here. And he's put his, so you can see up at the top there, he's put his troll just in front of my man-eaters as redirect and kind of charge block there. Otherwise, his savage orcs creep up. He goes to cast Foot of Gork, and it goes and gets him first. So he hits, I pick this small unit here. He rolls to hit, loses half of his unit. Mind you, that painted guy in the front there is his BSB. And of course, they flee, run off the table. And that was pretty brutal. That was his first turn, but pretty great for me. I'm not going to lie. So that was one huge thing out of the way. Of course, he kills my saber tusk with his black orcs. Pretty easy. He's going to overrun here, end up right next to my yetis. It's just a normal forest, no big deal. And I will countercharge him in turn 2. Which is exactly what I want. It's a bit of a bold move, but that's exactly what I want. Here, my Saber Tusk is great. Gets fear, so he's weapon skill 1. I wound 2 of them, and he wounds me back with 1. I think I even win combat, but he's rolling on his leader's his general's leadership, and it goes pretty well. Turn 2, my Gorger comes in. Pretty great, so I put him in and move him right up next to this rock lobber. He'll get 2 more attacks, but then I will tie this one up. I'll just leave the other one in the corner. Not too worried, especially as we're getting into combat pretty quickly. Yeah, he's going to be threatening his own stuff. You can see here, this is, I've charged into the flank of his Black Orcs with my Yetis. It's a really bold move, and I was thinking I don't need to double charge with my Mournfang. That would be overkill. It's blah, 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 blah. I put my Mournfang running into the forest. I don't know that I could have made it with my Iron Guts. Maybe that would have been a better move. I should have thought this one a bit further through. But of course, my Yetis, I don't get fear. They kind of fluff most of their attacks, and I lose combat by only 1 or 2, but I still lose combat, run away. Up there, my Maneaters, which have Swift Stride as well, they charge into the troll, and with their impact hits, do just a ton of wounds right off the bat. And they overrun. You can see here, after combat, my Saber Tusk is 1, so he's out there. There's Fanatic flying around in there. My Maneaters up top have 1. They've overrun into the middle, and he's pursued my Yetis and caught them and killed them. I was a little frustrated, but it gets them out of the way. Coming into Orc turn 2, he gets to decide what he's going to do here. He charges my Noblars. I don't do any wounds with dangerous terrain checks. He wounds me 5 times, but I still am steadfast because I have a full rank, and I roll on my leaders, my general's leadership, and make it. So that's pretty great. They stick around. Really fantastic, even though they had no business doing so. The Gorger, coming into Ogre's turn 3, the Gorger charges into this rock lobber. So eventually I'll get that out of the way. I charge my Mournfang and I believe my Bulls into this unit of Night Goblins, and he flees. He could have perhaps stuck around and hoped to, through steadfast, stick around and whittle me down, but he chose to flee instead, which is fine by me. One thing to note is that's his caster there on the boar in the middle, and I have the Greedy Fist, and I didn't take advantage of the rule all game of every time I caused a hit that I took him down a wizard level and he lost his spell. So that could have been a big deal, but in the end, I think you'll see how it works out. This was a bizarre move on my part. I wanted to put up a roadblock, but instead of what I should have done is set it up basically so that I could control the charges. He charges the Saber Tusk, wins that, overruns into my Maneaters, and then I can crush him with the Mournfang in the flank. Instead, I charge him. I don't really know what I'm thinking, but I lose combat. He gets my standard. He overruns not very far. I only have 1 Maneater left, and now because I've failed my charge into his Night Goblins, you can see here, I'm kind of left out in the middle of everything. My Mournfang are right in front of his Savage Orc Big Uns. My General's unit is not too far away beyond that. And it's kind of a whole lot of nothing on this part. I could have really set it up so that I controlled everything. He'd have to roll to beat his Savage, his Frenzy. But, it's better the chance that I force him to charge my Saber Tusk. He charges my Saber Tusk, beats that, overruns into my Maneaters, and then I can flank charge him, so we both get charged, etc., etc. But that's not how it works. So he charges my Maneater. I flee with that. I get away. He charges my Mournfang. I get away with that. So he's got a failed charge out here in the middle. His Black Orcs are coming around. His Chariot moves up to get in the way and redirect my General's unit. And so I still have all my big units here, but it really means that I am kind of at his mercy, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to make sense out of all this. So coming into my turn 4, now I'm trying to reassess what I can do here. My turn 4 comes up. Sorry, we're still in his turn 3. He brings his Black Orcs way up here. I can't remember if he had a failed charge on a long charge of my Iron Guts. That could have been it. Ends up right out in front of them. Seems a bit absurd that he would make it that far. It could just be the distance, or maybe he just moves to redirect with them as well. But again, this is a close-up look at where we're going. So what I'm hoping is my Man-Eater will rally this turn, and then I can use him as a redirector here, as I should have used my Saber Tusk before. So, another excellent shot of my team here from behind. You can see how things are setting up. He's rallied with his Night Goblins in the background. Going to slowly start moving them up, that sort of thing. And so my goal is to get these Black Orcs out of the way, get rid of that chariot, and then focus everything I've got on his big unit of Savage Orcs. So I rally both the Mournfang and the Man-Eater. I angle the Man-Eater, which is my Tyrant model, but I angle the Man-Eater so that he'll charge me and then be charging at that unit of Iron Guts. I then charge with the Iron Guts into the Black Orcs. The Black Orcs flee, so the Iron Guts are just sitting out there. And my Mournfang, I angle them as well, but I do a really poor job of this. As you can see, they're kind of angled directly facing the Savage Orcs. If they had been more parallel to the board, when he killed my Man-Eater, he'd overrun, and this is a better angle of it. When he killed the Man-Eater, he'd overrun and maybe hit my Iron Guts in the flank, maybe not, but that would have made a lot more sense. Instead, I keep them just like this. He charges me with his chariot into my general's unit, or I think I charged him. Yes, this is my turn. I charge him. I'm going to destroy that pretty quick, then reform to face him. And hopefully set a big trap here in the middle. After combat, I beat the chariot handily. I turn reform to face. I've got everything kind of set up here to do just as I planned. You can see he's now out here all alone with no supporting units, no anything at all. And it's completely up to me to make this happen. So again, my goal is to be able to combo charge him. I do know one mistake is I ended up in his flank with my Mournfang, as you'll see later. And looking at it from this way, I'm clearly in his front rank, although that may change when he's in combat with my Man-Eater. Actually, that's what happens. He changes, he's in combat, I'm in his flank, so then he overruns, he hits me, and we go on from there. So I win in the back here with the Gorger. I reform to face this bigger unit, and then I'll just come and start getting into the middle of things. I'm unbreakable. He's got a bunch of ranks, but so what? I'll just start whittling him down. His Black Orcs flee one more turn. They end up rallying, and he ends up foot of Gorking them. They don't rally. He foot of Gorks them, or hand of Morks them or something, and brings them back into the middle of the field as a kind of a redirector, and also to keep them from just running off the board next turn, which I thought was a bit of a different idea, but it worked. It kept the points in there, and it made it pretty interesting, that's for sure. By this point, we're playing Blood and Glory, and by this point, I've lost one or two banners. I've lost my Man-Eaters, and that may be it for banners. But he's slowly whittling me down. I've taken a couple of his banners, but he still has the upper hand. So here you go. He's charged my Man-Eater. You can see I am in his flank, but he's going to overrun and hit my Mournfang, which will stop his overrun. But once that happens, everything else will get to charge him, which is pretty good. He was too far away with his night goblins to be able to reach me, so my general's unit of bulls is just sitting out there in the middle. And like I said, I haven't really got that many spells off throughout this whole game. A couple times I cast magic missiles on his shaman, who's sitting on the boar out there in the middle. But really, I didn't get to do a whole lot of spell casting. So even though I was next to the wizard's tower, I didn't get to do a whole lot. You can see the black orcs there have been hand-morked or gorked into the middle of the field. So they're still fleeing, but they're facing a different direction. He's overrun, hit my Mournfangs, which have then shut the door into his flank, which is really a shame, because if he was in the corner of my Iron Guts, I would get to flank charge him, reroll with the Dragonhide banner, all hits and misses. Hits to rolls to hit and wound on 1, and reroll my armor save. It would have just been really great. But I will be able to charge. I can see his unit with my Iron Guts. I can see his unit with my General's unit, and I am going to be able to get right on in there. So my turn 5 comes up, and that's exactly what I do. I charge with absolutely everything I've got. Everything comes crushing in. You can see here things look pretty bad for the Savage Orcs, but they're Savage Orc Big Uns, and they are just brutal, attacking strength 5 in every first round of combat. I know I just have to be able to stick this one out, survive this one. So I roll here to get the expanded Troll Guts, which would have been great. All my units with regeneration, and I think I rolled 6 dice or 5 dice, and with bonuses and everything, I can't even get it off. And it just serves to show me that I really need to work on my magic use. I think I need to focus on using smaller spells, shorter spells, going for like the dumbed down versions where I can make sure I get them off, get multiple ones off, get a buff on my toughness on one unit, get a buff on regeneration on the other. Really be smart about it and make the most of it, because these attacks are just going to be awful. No matter how tough I am and how strong I'm coming, they're still just going to be brutal to survive. And sure enough, at the end of combat, I've lost 3 bulls, I've lost 4 Iron Guts, and 1 Mournfang cavalry. Just brutal. And I think I lost 1 wound on my BSB or my Slaughtermaster or something in a challenge. And so there's a ton of wounds. But as you can see, I've also taken off some 23 wounds or something from the Savage Orc Big Uns. And with once it's all done, he loses combat by a little bit. I've broken his steadfast, and we break him from combat, overrun, and catch him. And that's pretty much the end of the game. I think that brings him down under the limit, and the Ogres win. It's pretty touch and go, and there's a couple of, things got a little chaotic towards the end. If he had rolled WOG, then he would have been just fine and made his leadership because he missed by 1. All in all, it was a great game. Thank you guys very much for watching. Enjoy.